And we're plugged in with Maura Collins. I am joined here by my friend Juan. How are you, Juan?
I'm doing well. And you, Maura?
Thank you for coming on the show today.
You're welcome.
Juan is a U.S. Army veteran. That is something to be said. Thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Wow. Proud to be an American, huh?
Oh, yes.
Like through and through.
Born in Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn. Do you go home and visit every once in a while?
Yes, I do.
Outside of, with the pandemic and whatnot. Do you still have family there?
Yes, I have brothers, nephews, nieces.
Wow. Well, how did they feel about you living here in Florida and not up in New York?
They don't care. I have cousins that would love for me to be back in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're a great guy.
Thank you.
There's something about you. You have a magic that you bring into the 12-step program. I've noticed a certain way about you. You're very quiet, but you always share and you always help people. And when I first met you, I was like, this guy's pretty cool. And you gave me a bag of masks that I had in my car, and it was awesome to have them on hand. You're just like a very giving person. Is that just the way you've always been?
That's the way I've always been.
That's how you roll because you're from New York City?
Yes. Well, it was part of my upbringing.
Right.
My parents taught me how to share. My father always told me, we are bourgeois, but you need to learn not to judge anybody else by what they wear or what they say, but by how they feel, and always help them to feel good.
Can I ask how many years you've been in recovery?
29.
29. So the 30 is this year or next year?
January 15th. My clean date is January 15th, 1992.
The year I graduated high school. I won't forget it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's something to be. Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So did you go into the service right out of high school? What's the story behind that?
Oh, there's a story behind it. I got in trouble.
You?
Yes. When I was younger, in 16, I was hanging out with these guys and I got mugged, and I went to assault the people that had mugged me with friends, and we picked on the wrong people. And one of the guys had a weapon on him, and he shot it at the police car. I grabbed it out of his hand, and when the police officers came back to return fire, they saw me with it and shoving him into the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens.
Wow.
I didn't snitch on him. I was always taught, I don't know nothing.
Right.
Not anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kept my mouth shut and took the weight of it. And the judge saw my academic records, and he said, well, if you like playing with guns, there's a nice little war going on called Vietnam. And when you're 18, you're to sign up. And that's how I got to go into the military.
So was it a suggestion that you go in the military, or did he kind of sentence you to that way to kind of straighten you out?
Jail or the military? I would have gone into the military anyway. I had gone through the Navy cadets, this drum corps. I was bound for that eventually. And with a last name like Battle.
Wow.
It was
just
always
coincidence, right?
There's no coincidences in
None.
life. None.
No. So you signed up?
Yes, I signed up.
Willingly?
Willingly.
Wow.
And I volunteered for a lot of different things. I came out of boot camp as a Heart Stripe Corporal. And I was amazed with that they promoted me to that rank.
That's
of course,
amazing.
But I was up and down in rank. I was always a troubled person. I've been dealing with my demons since I've been a child.
Okay.
One of the reasons why I got in trouble with the guys is because I was high. When I was a child, the doctors had prescribed this Coke syrup, which contained cocaine in it, a written prescription back in the 50s, because I had wheezing. in my chest. And my parents took me to Dr. Wagner. Hey, Wagner, I'll see you one of these days.
Right.
As I look up into the sky.
Right.
So he prescribed that, and I was always a hyper child. My older brothers, they're 18 and 19 years older than me. They would take my younger brother because he was very calm and timid, and I was very active. So I got to spend a lot of time by myself. And I got to hang out with my mother and my father, and they taught me a lot of different things. By the time I was 7, I was drinking blackberry brandy.
Ooh.
To calm down, to go to school, and to go to sleep.
Wow.
Yeah. So my addiction stems from a very long time, in the process of trying to get healthy. And my parents had no idea of what I was to become. But I went into the military, and I continued my addiction in there.
How did that go?
It went all right. I got an honorable discharge. I drove them crazy.
It didn't affect your performance as far as serving in the military?
No.
Like, there's a lot of people that can't complete because of other things that happen, and,
And after I came home, I had a warrant officer approach me, out of the blue to go back in. And
they missed you.
And so I signed up for the reserves. Yeah,
Oh, that's good.
this was back in 74 and 75 that I went back in. And then from there, I worked. I went to work for the U.S. Post Office, not Postal Service, but the old post office. I did some random acts, as you would call it, heroism. For me, it's just another day in the park. And I got all these promotions, and I accelerated. I started off as a custodian, and I left as a superintendent of station operations, which is a mini postmaster.
That's great.
So I made a clean sweep. No pun intended, though.
Clean sweep.
Yeah.
Still using?
Still using. I quit
Okay.
the post office, making this astronomical amount of money back in the 80s. Because of my using, I said, "You're interrupting my get high. Why should I stay here? I don't have a problem. You folks have a problem."
Stinking thinking, huh?
Yes.
It'll get us every time, right?
It wasn't until I had gone through many trials and tribulations in relationships, and I had pushed away a lot of people that really loved me because I didn't know how to love myself.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's the deep stuff, right?
Oh, I have something that might describe it in a little way here.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, this
Sounds good to me.
compassion. That I feed the hungry, forgive an insult, and love my enemy. These are great virtues. But what if I should discover that the poorest of the beggars and the most impudent of offenders are all within me, and that I stand in need of the alms of my own kindness, that I myself am the enemy who must be loved. What then? And that's by C.J. Chung.
We're the problem.
I was my own problem. I was my own enemy.
And the military and your service and the things that you've done in acts of heroism, that's all external stuff, but the problem was still inside of you.
Yes.
That was its own battle inside.
I didn't know how to reach inside of me. I wanted to help other people. A lot of the scars that I have on me is from helping other people. Jumping off of a New York City moving train to stop 6 guys from trying to rape this 16-year-old girl. Yeah. And doing insane acts of what supposedly is heroism. Yeah. Yeah. I guess it was the great I am. You see, I was a legend in my own mind back then. I thought that, the great I am was doing all this for these other people and not caring for myself. If I was to get beat up, it was all right. If I was to beat up somebody, that was all right. I had no sense of self, and I had no compassion for anyone else. So being lost was something that I had to learn a new way of life.
Right.
And coming into the program of recovery was such a fantastic learning ability for me to learn a new way of life. I met a guy named Vito in the Brooklyn VA when I went into detox. And he taught me about PP, prayers and push-ups.
I've heard you say that before. I love it.
That was the very first night. When I got there that morning, I was so stoned that they had to put me in Vito's office to sleep it off. They wouldn't mainstream me with others. I was too whacked out.
Right.
But that night, as I'm coming out and shivering, and they assigned me a bed, and Vito told me, "Hey, do PP," and I said, "Hey, all right, I'll be right back." He said, "Where you going?" I said, "I'm gonna do one of the P's." He said, "Which one?" I said, "The prayers. I can't do no push-ups." I was too shaky. Two of my friends and my mother, when I came, were downstairs. George and his sister Helen, they brought me T-shirt and underwear when they found out that I had gone into detox. And my mother just wanted to send me a note saying that she was proud of me for going in there. See, I had slapped my mother and robbed her. I just didn't rob her. I offended her by hitting her. She was my best friend. We used to play, when I had nobody else to play with, she would take me to the park. She bought me this record player, and the very first 45 vinyl record that I got was called Lucky Ladybug.
That's so cool.
I'll never forget that. Lucky Ladybug. I don't sing.
Right.
I'm from Brooklyn. We don't do things like that. Let me stop. But I felt so much anger and frustration with myself. And then this guy teaches me about PP. And then I started listening. I didn't talk much at the VA hospital, the Brooklyn VA. I kept very quiet. I wanted to learn something. So I listened so I can learn. And I learned by listening. By the time I got to, I finished my 28-day stay there. George and Helen brought the underwear and T-shirt. My mother left me $20 for cigarettes. You used to be able to smoke in the facilities back then. And I went from there to Long Island to Northport, VA. But I stopped off at this one Catholic charity place out there for a week till my bed was ready. And I met a lot of interesting guys, and I thought they were cool. They were these bikers who used to come up, and they would come in to hold meetings there, and I would listen to them, and I thought they were so damn cool. But then I found out that they were cool because they were in recovery, not because of how tough they were or anything. And I wanted what they had. So when I was in Northport, I met my sponsor there. He said something that I had heard, and I liked this guy. He was cool. He was no tough guy. He was very simple. I remember the first time I raised my hand, it was about a week into being in Northport. And this guy says, "Hey, you speak English?" I turned around and looked at him, and I was very upset. And I said, "Yo, man, I don't speak no English. I can articulate well in American, but I don't speak no English. I don't do no bloody hell and, cheerio, old chap,
Right.
The guy that I asked to be my sponsor, started to laugh, and he grabbed me after the meeting and gave me this book to read. And I thought it was so cool. I'd sat there every night that week till the next Sunday till I was going to see him. And I read what he asked me to read. And it was pretty enlightening. See, I was the intellectual junkie. I knew everything.
Was it literature from the program?
Yes.
Okay.
And what he had taught me, what he had expressed to me was what Socrates said one time. Socrates said, "The less you know, the more you can learn." So I had to learn that I didn't know anything. And that's one of the prayers that I say before I deal with anybody in recovery. I say, "Dear God, allow me the fact that I don't know anything, and to allow your thoughts to come into my head. For my way took me to the wrong highway, and your way has brought me back to a very sane and safe place in life."
Can I ask you a question?
Please, that's why I hesitate.
It's a little different. It might be off topic a little. Do you feel like you meet people for a reason?
Oh, yes.
So when I met you and we were talking about 9/11, can we talk about 9/11?
All right.
I didn't tell you that when 9/11 happened, I was supposed to move to New York, to Astoria.
Mm-hmm.
I have a cousin who lives in Brooklyn. I have another cousin that was living in the Greenwich Village. And I was supposed to move to Astoria, and I was working for a huge tech company. And my customer was in New York Stock Exchange. So, I've always been working with people in New York City. That's always been my thing. Whenever I'm in sales, that's my territory. And I was going to move to New York. And I was, in the middle of my drinking. The day that the towers went down, I was supposed to have a dentist appointment. So I wasn't at work. Mm-hmm. So I turned the TV on and saw the towers coming down. And I just remembered the pain I felt because I felt so bad about not just that, but about my addiction. And it still wasn't the moment that I could go get help, but the feelings I felt for the next week of walking through Wakefield, Mass, down the street outside Boston and seeing hardly any traffic. There were no people around, going to the grocery store, and everybody was so down. It was a really scary time for me internally. So when I met you and we were talking about your experience with 9/11, you kind of healed me a little bit. I needed to hear. So can you explain your experience with 9/11? Because I think it's important that people know what it was like.
When I woke up that morning, I saw the plane hitting the building.
Like physically saw the window?
Yes. And then I looked at the TV, and it was real. It was real time. I got up. My ex-wife was there at the house, and she grabbed some medical equipment and started putting it into a bag for me. And I put my rucksack on, my backpack on. And she said, "You taking the car?" I said, "No vehicles are allowed." And at that moment, after I said that, it was announced that all vehicles should remain off the road for emergency vehicles to get around. So she said, "How are you going to get?" I said, "I'm taking my bike," which I had downstairs. I rode my bike, stopped off at several drugstores, and commandeered some more supplies. When I got to the Brooklyn side of the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel that leads into Manhattan, there were 3 other guys from my reserve unit there. And we all just ran down, and we hopped into an ambulance, and we went in. And that's when the buildings were coming down. It was the scariest of moments, but it was also something that we knew that we just had to go in. EMS is always held back in the staging area to make sure that the structural integrity is good, so this way EMS doesn't get hurt. Who's going to treat EMS if they get hurt? So the fire department, the police department closes off the area for people coming in and out, and the fire department checks for structural integrity, make sure that things are safe before EMS comes in to treat the people. But we were told not to stand down, to go in, and that's exactly what we did. It's not that, we're heroes. It's just what we do. There's nothing heroic about it. You help your neighbor. Those were my neighbors. Those were my fellow Americans. I'm Puerto Rican by my parents. Really, I'm a New Yorican. So, yeah, I love that. And but the people that were there that needed help, that's what touched me. And it wasn't just the survivors. Some of the people that needed help were in recovery that were there that night. When you would hear somebody saying, "Hey, stupid, can you keep it simple?"
Right.
"Hey, take it 1 minute at a time." "Hey, step by step." And I looked at these guys and I started making jokes with them. The biggest joke that I would ask them all is, "Hey, what's the only flower that grows between your nose and your chin?" "It's tulips. Keep them smiling, keep them happy." They would call me stupid. They would call me silly. They would call me, "Get out of here, man." But they all laughed at it. And we kept on going. And that night, before I go to that night, there was this one crackhead. Guy lived on the corner of Broadway and John. He washed his hands up, and fixed himself up just enough so he could be of service. My partner and I, we saw him shaking. And we said, "Yo, you need to do something about this. You're going to get real sick." And he said, "I can't afford to do anything. If I taste anything, I'm going to go right back." And we understood what he was saying. He said, "I just want to be of service today. Look at all the dead people." And I understood what he meant. That was me. For there go I. So my friend gave him some epinephrine just to take the edge off. And he made it through the day. I remember this one cop coming up to me and saying, "Hey, Battle." I said, "What is it, Sarge?" He said, "You see that MF over there?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I arrested him 9 times. 9 times I arrested that asshole. But today he's my hero." Because he was giving out sandwiches to the cops and firefighters. What's a junkie want to do when there's all this mayhem? Would have been me, I would have been robbing the place. Compassion. No self-centeredness for him. He wanted to be of service. See, I believe that addicts, all addicts, as I call myself a junkie, we're not bad people trying to become good people. We're sick people trying to get better.
Amen.
Yeah.
For sure.
I learned that from my sponsor. Yeah. And another thing that I learned from my first sponsor, that one I learned from my sponsor now. My first sponsor helped me to learn, is there any right way to do the wrong thing? And then I heard it echoed through another friend of mine, years later. And I all these little innuendos, one step at a time, one day at a time, 1 minute at a time. Yeah. it helped me to learn a new way of life.
I want to thank you, though, for being there, because it impacted my family in such a way, and just my life in such a way, that when we were going through the pandemic, I was telling my kids that they have no idea what it's like to see America cry like it did that day. There was that amount of pain that we went through. It was like nothing, it just gave me such a new appreciation about my life. And I feel like giving back and being of service in recovery is so important in all areas. And that's why, part of the reason I do this podcast, it's not program related. It's about being plugged into my recovery and what I do outside of my own recovery to help people. Like, this podcast is helping people on a national level. And if we can touch one person that may choose to go to detox or get some help, or be a veteran out there and get some help. Like, I saw that movie American Sniper.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't watch that.
And maybe someday you will, though. It was good. It was a great movie, but it dealt with being a veteran and not having that help with the emotional side of after the war and whatnot. And like, I just see that you've become such a strong person, and being in the military has helped you focus on getting yourself better, working on yourself, being kind to people. It's been a motivator. And there's other people that I know that are in the program that are veterans as well that have similar traits. It's something I look up to you for.
Thank you.
It's pretty cool. What else you got on that little pad there?
I venture forth from the past and the future. I live in the eternal present.
Just for today, right?
Just for today.
We live in today.
Yesterday was history. Tomorrow's a mystery.
I can't worry about tomorrow. It's going to happen anyways, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I worry about everything, though. I stress out about a lot, but maybe because I'm a single mom and I have to. But there's nothing I can do to change the past.
I have a question.
But learn from it.
True. Why do you need to... Oh, okay.
He's got another quote for me. I liked that one, though. That was a good one.
Be humble, for you are made of earth. Be noble, for you are made of stars.
I like that.
Yeah.
Who said that one?
That's a Serbian proverb. Yeah.
You got a bunch of quotes.
Yes.
Are these all your favorite ones?
Yes.
Do you read the Bible?
I used to.
Used to.
Yeah. I've gone through so many different religions. I've been baptized. I've gone through different ceremonies. I've done my salat. I can't remember how to pronounce that word. The challenge in recovery is overcoming the negative beliefs that I hold back. That's why, when you said you worry, why have expectations of something? If you have no expectations, you have no letdown. If you have no letdown, then you have room in your head to move forward. One of the things that I tell people is, especially myself, I have to tell myself this because I fall prey to this when I let somebody else rent space in my head.
There's no space left. Find another vacancy, right?
Well, if I let them rent space in my head, they're not paying me rent. Right. There's nothing to help me to grow from that. So I have to eliminate that by praying. I pray for forgiveness, for their forgiveness as well as mine. In early recovery, I used to always, in the morning, I would say, "Good morning, God. How are you? You who illuminate the world, illuminate my heart so I can do your work for you." And at night, I would say, "For those people that don't like me, I wish them a beautiful day." And for those people that I don't like, I hope they have a better day than I do tomorrow.
Wow.
You know,
I might need a bumper sticker for that one. So I think I worry because I'm at a point that I've never been. The financial amends have been pretty much done to a certain extent. I have a house for the first time. I have a good job that I've worked hard to get. So like that's all effort though, and I know if I use it's all gone, right? Because I'll be right back to, like you were saying, the job doesn't matter because I'll be getting high and nobody matters but me at that point. And I have a son that I take care of that I want to make sure he has a good upbringing. My parents are amazing, and I grew up in an amazing family, awesome household, great upbringing. I didn't go nuts until college, and I want my kids to experience a normal life as much as I can give them. But they know that their mother is a recovering addict. And I educate them. There's no candy coating high level conversation. My son comes to NA meetings with me, and I just worry that I'm not going to be always providing the best. You know what I mean? And I just want them to get to college and do well and then take care of me someday. Could someone do that? That'd be great,
Yes, they can. My daughter is finally, helping me out. She wants me out in Kansas with her.
Wow.
I kind of get surprised because, all the years of, of the things that I did to myself, I also did to her. When I hurt myself, I hurt her. By not learning to care for myself, I didn't realize that I wasn't caring for anyone else. As my father had told me, to be kind, to be gentle with others. My mother taught me to be helpful. There were times that she knew that I needed to sit down, and she would give me her chair on the bus for my brother and I to sit down. And when we didn't need the chair, when we were, all pumped up, she would say, "Get up and let somebody else have the seat." We would share the chair. On long bus rides.
Don't you think your daughter's forgiven you though?
Oh yeah.
Amends. Sometimes they don't even have to be like formal. Time helps.
I have a Father's Day card that says, "To the first man who understood me, to the first whiskers that ever touched my cheek, to the first man that I gave my heart to the first person that understood me, I love you, Daddy."
That's amazing.
I have that framed. And that's my badge of honor.
Because of recovery, I was given a second chance to be a mother. I wasn't ready the first time. It's just honest.
Yes. Well, for me, it was with my grandchildren. I was 14 years? Let me see. I was 15 years into my recovery when my grandson was 12. And he said, "Grandpa, I want to be just like you." And my daughter, the face that she had, and I said, "He's talking about now, not from when you knew me." And she came back to reality, She was scared back then. But now she's so cool, I'm so very proud of her, and the mother that she came to be, the grandmother that she is. It wasn't I that she took after. My second wife helped me to raise her, Dr. Vega. This woman, I don't understand how such a smart woman wound up with a mug like me.
Don't say that.
all these.
I'm divorced too, so it happens.
Yeah, but I was really bad.
Well,
I mean, I was vulgar and violent to her, and she still took care of my daughter.
of course.
Yeah, and
she's forgiven you too, So
yes,
addiction's a family disease.
and I doubt very much she's going to hear this, but somebody out there might, who knows us, recognize this. When my grandchildren were just kids, she came to visit my daughter, and I happened to be here in Florida. I was living here. So we went out to, what's that Greek place here in Ybor City, up on 7th Avenue.
I'm not quite sure.
It's a Greek restaurant.
Okay.
And so we ate, and I got up and walked outside to smoke my cigar. She had never, seen me smoking. She knew when I had smoked when we first met, and then I stopped for all those years. But when I moved to Florida, I started smoking again. And she came outside and she goes, "Honey, how dare you smoke where the grandchildren could see you?" And I said, "Naomi, you have to," and she goes, "No, I don't have to anything. You have to put that cigar on." I said, "You have to turn around and look at your husband. He's inside waving at you." And when she turned around,
Acropolis is the name of the restaurant.
Thank you. Acropolis, yes.
Yeah, that's that's what happens when you have the best producer who knows more than I don't know anything about Tampa really.
I want to thank you, brother. And she turned around and she looked inside the window, and her husband was waving at her.
Oh.
And she turned around and she goes, "Oh shit, I forgot."
That's funny.
She had forgotten that moment. That
Yeah, right.
Yes, she did forgive me. And I know that she still loves me in her own way. One of the things that we shared with each other is we were people on a bus ride. And as, people come on the bus, they go off the bus, and you get to meet people. You get to understand them. You get to know them. And then they go off in life on their own. And we were two people on the bus that got to know each other.
You should write a book about your life.
Nah.
No?
Nah.
No memoir for you?
I have calendars dating all the way back to 1971.
That you've kept?
Yes.
Every year?
Yes.
With people's birthdays on it and
Yes.
whatnot? That's cool.
Addresses, people that I've met,
Wow.
J.P. Morgan, the banker, Bob Hope, Charleston Heston, Dom DeLuise.
Did you know I was always scared to write journals or diaries because my dad took mine when I was in high school, and I always saw it as evidence. I know people like to write and people feel it's therapeutic, but even my step work, it's hidden in my house. I don't want anyone to find it.
I have.
Am I a crazy person that
No.
I don't want people to?
I have.
My son to find my step work and read some
Why?
stuff. I mean, I like to go back. I keep all those binders for 13 years that I've been in recovery. I like to go back and see what I wrote years ago about, say, step one or whatever, and just see the change in me. And now I think about it, and I was like, oh, maybe I should have journaled a little bit or tried writing. I had Robin Anonymous on the show, and she taught me that it's okay to just maybe get a notebook out and just write some stuff down. And I like to write quotes and stuff like that down. It's good stuff.
I write quotes all the time.
I memorize them sometimes.
I'm not that good. My brain. Don't forget, I'm 69 years old. I blame it on my age, but that's,
age is just a number.
Yeah. But when I forget
Do you
how old
feel
I
it?
am, yeah, I feel 96.
You're not 96. Oh man.
Well, how old are you?
I'm 47.
Okay, that's not good.
But we'll
Because
just
we turn
pretend
it
I'm
around and say-
37.
Yeah, what I've always
You
done
know?
was take the numbers and turn them around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're 74. Yeah, and
Can't
that's,
stop time though.
no, the maturity is something that we strive for.
Do you prefer being in a meeting with people with a lot of time or newcomers?
Both.
You like a mix?
Yes.
Do you like men's meetings or no?
Yes.
So you do both?
I do.
Co-ed and
yes.
men. Okay.
We cannot teach people anything. We can only help them discover it within themselves.
Right.
That was Galileo.
Okay, you know why I like that one?
Why?
Surrender.
Yes.
I can't force anyone to get clean. They have to want to do it on their own. And I can't save anybody. I'm not a genie like the Aladdin movie, like Robin Williams. I can't come out of a bottle and be like, poof, you're going to be clean.
Now, you had asked me about God before.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you, God has a weird sense of humor with me. What was it, like 2 years ago that we had a hurricane coming up? And
three, maybe. A little over 3 or something. Right before I moved here, when I moved here 3 years ago, we had one, but it didn't amount to anything. Irma was prior to that.
And I went out to the beach to go make a meeting, and to look at the waves. The meeting was inside this building across the street from the beach, and as I'm walking on the boardwalk to go look out at the Gulf, I see this guy drinking, and I look up to the sky and I say, God, you put me in the weirdest places for the weirdest things. Now what am I going to say? And this great idea came into my head to tell him, hey, man, do you know that beer makes you smarter? It really does. It made Bud wiser. It didn't make me any wiser. That's why I had 27 years clean. It was 2 years ago. Yeah, I had 27 years clean. And I said, that's why, I'm in recovery. And he kind of stopped crying and looked at me. He said, that's funny, man. Yeah, and I showed him my coin, my recovery coin, and he looked at it and he said, wow, you have all these years? I said, Tony, one day at a time, bro. So he walked me back to my car and left all the beer that he had there, and then went back and brought it up to the front where, by the parking lot, and threw it all away. And he simply asked me, can you take me to a detox? I said, yo, God, you put me in the weirdest spots. Now I gotta. Right. Now I can't make a meeting. I gotta go take him to a detox.
Well, 12-step calls, they happen.
Yeah,
right?
And there was this other guy that was with me that was active that I wanted to take him to the meeting.
For sure.
And I see them both today clean.
That's awesome.
I got 29 years, so that means 2 years ago.
There's nothing like helping someone out and then them being a success.
I couldn't help them out. All I could do
is show them the way.
Show them the way.
Show them the way.
And they had to take the path. They're the ones that did their work. I didn't do a damn
thing.
They
took your suggestion or they begged you for help because they wanted it. He was like, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to die.
Yes, and this guy is such a fantastic guy. Both of them. One's a little more knucklehead than the other one. But this one guy, the way that he had talked about his mother, I felt sorry. I won't say sorry. I felt bad.
Right.
For him and her. And he's gone home to be with her. He's gone back to the state that he came from. He came here so he can die. But he came here so he can learn how to live.
Because recovery is possible.
He gave himself a break.
When I was in treatment, we were walking across the street, a bunch of us ladies, to a meeting. And there was someone, I was pregnant with Michael, and there was someone that was looking for cash, panhandling. And I reached in my pocket because I had $5 and I gave it to the guy. Mm-hmm. And the staff member said, see me when we get back to the halfway house or the program, whatever. And I was like, what did I do wrong? So I went in the office and I got written up. And I'm like, why am I getting written up? She goes, why would you give money to someone on the street? I go, well, I used to live on the street. I was homeless. $5, hey now. She says, why don't you just buy them a bag of heroin? You just enabled an addict. So then she made me write a paper about washing dishes or something that was unrelated, but that was just the punishment. So instead, when I see someone that's on the street that's looking for cash or something, I suggest a meeting, or I find another way of saying, do you want me to buy you a sandwich? Do you want me to buy you a water or whatever? I'll walk out of the 7-Eleven with an extra water and just hand it to the person. You know, and then they'll come up to me and say, hey, I need a meeting list or whatever, and I have them in my car. But I've learned that. I've even told my kids in the car, like, don't give money to people on the street because you never know. That could be the death wish right there. So, see the lessons we learn when we're in recovery?
Yes. And
There's so many of them.
And I was going to bring that up, as part of something, because exactly what that counselor told you is what I learned in early recovery. Why do you want to give the drug dealer money? Oh, people tell me, I it's his choice. No, it's your enabling. Yeah, it's not his choice. He has no choice. He's made bad decisions. The act of choice was given up when he tasted the first one. One is too many, and 1,000 never enough. So once he started off on the races, that $5 was getting him the next one.
You chase that first high forever.
Yes.
That's why you don't pick up no matter what, right? I mean,
there's no reason to pick up. I had every reason in the world. September 28, 1995. I had every reason to pick up because I was feeling sorry for myself. I was feeling bad that my father was killed. I found an excuse to want to go get high. And this woman walked up to me and she saw this chain around my neck and this symbol and asked me about my recovery. And I told her, what the F do you think I want to hear you for right now? My father's dead here. She goes, yeah, I know. But you look like you want to get high. And I stopped and I looked at her. And all I could think of was that word God. Good, orderly direction. That's all I could think of was just good, orderly direction. And she handed me a quarter and told me that there was a phone on the wall to go call my sponsor. We didn't have cell phones back then. We had beepers.
The pager, yeah.
You call it pager, we call it the beeper. Beep, 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 beep. Oh,
yeah.
Hey, okay. Hey, I'll be over there to pick up soon.
Yeah.
But, now I had a, beeper that my sponsor would call me, or other people in recovery would call. And we were able to keep in contact with each other. That was one of the most blessed days of my life. I had a choice of either taking all the money that this cop gave me and going to get high, or taking all the money that this cop gave me and take it to my mother and show that I was responsible for the day. But I couldn't do it by myself. I had help. Sometimes you see things and you recognize people in the program and you just walk up to them and say, hey, come here. What do you think you're doing? Like what they did to you. You don't give money in the street. You give food.
Right.
That's why I walk around with food in my car all the time. And my little girl, she's 49 years old. I call her my little girl. She likes cooking and going out during festivals, holidays, and giving people on the street food. That's something we share in common.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
I think faith replaces fear.
Most indubitably, beyond a reason of a doubt.
So even if I worry, I just give it to God and ask God to remove whatever feeling I'm having. That spiritual side has taken some time, but I've developed that higher power relationship now. I didn't have that before when I had 10 years clean and I relapsed, because I never would have relapsed. Because God, I would have prayed and it wouldn't have happened. I made a decision. There's no blaming it on relationship. There's no blaming it on nothing. No excuses. There was no relationship with my higher power. But yet today there is, and it's an awesome God. It's an awesome feeling outside of whatever I do in my recovery. You know, I'm in a church now. I feel like I finally have connected on a deeper level with people in recovery that I go to church with, and just feeling like something small will happen during the day, and I'll be like, that's God right there, you know? And you know what? I've just become more grateful. Grateful, what does they say? A grateful heart I'll never use.
That's right.
I believe it.
Yeah, I have found no reason to make a choice to pick up, drugs. I've made some bad choices. I walked into a store and I should have known that this guy was going to be troubled because he punched me in the chest when I opened the door just to get by me. And he threw a can of beer into the wastebasket. So I knew that he had alcoholic bravery. And when I walked in, he said, "Oh, old people should be seen and not heard." And I should have kept my mouth shut. I was 60 years old back then. And I didn't see his three friends. And, I tried to avoid them, but they came after me, and I had to fight them. I asked them in the name of God, please stop. But when I saw that I was going to be attacked, I said, okay, now let's meet the devil. And I pounced on them and took them down. I hurt one of them really bad. The other one I almost killed. I should have realized that I am not the great I am. After I beat them up, I was, all pumped up until I got to the Cheesecake Factory, and then I realized that I have a contract with the VA not to put my hands on anybody. They asked me, did you swing first? I said, no. And they said, okay, it was self-defense. But after I thought about it even further and discussed it with my sponsor, why didn't I just walk away from the beginning, knowing that this guy was, obnoxious? So today I can, I've learned from my mistakes. I don't even want to fight.
Right.
I find no reason to have to lift my hands up to anybody.
What can we do to help veterans out there? On a small scale, for example.
There's so many. Okay, now, in terms of vets, again, it's a choice. It's their choice. They know that they can go to the VA and find help there. Encourage them to get there. When you see a vet on the street, is he really a vet? Or is he somebody claiming? Because I've talked to a lot of guys, and I've said, okay, what's your MOS? And they don't know what that is. And for you vets out there, you know what I'm talking about. I'll tell them I'm an 11 Bravo. I'm a 21 Delta 20. I'm a 76 Yankee. Those are codes that we have describing the jobs that we did. So beware. Not all who claim to be vets are vets.
Right. Okay.
All right.
It's good to know.
Do
you miss it?
Yes, I do.
Or do you live it in a different way now?
I live it in a different way now.
Through helping people.
Yes.
Through service.
Yes, but I wish
That's cool.
I miss the camaraderie. This pandemic shut me down too long. I miss my group activities. I miss the programs that I was in at the VA. I went 2 weeks ago to see my psychologist. And she said, "You're the first patient that I have coming back. I have to find out from you what's going on." She asked me about my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. We have a rapport, and I feel safe with her. I can talk with her about damn near anything. When I first came into the program, I had mentioned Northport. April 1st, 1972 was my last day in therapy. Maxine Jenny and Juan. They were therapists that helped me along the way. Brian, God rest his soul, you know, they all helped me to find a new way of life. And then I met Sue Baffo when I came out of therapy. And it was my first contact with a woman outside of therapy. I found her to be very attractive. I found her to be very beautiful. But I knew that I had to find a new way of living. I couldn't look at a woman for the core feeling of being a man, I'm the man and you should date me, woman.
Yeah.
I told her, I don't know how to treat a woman. Would you please help me to learn? And for the next 3 years, it was the best lessons that I've learned. Naomi taught me about the woman's body. And I had to read all these books about women's bodies because I had a daughter that I was raising. And I had to understand her and her feelings.
Open-mindedness.
Yes.
Lots of honesty.
So,
I feel that.
And I told Sue, hey, listen, I find you to be like, you're fine, baby. Then I found out what fine means: fickle, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. Yeah. I told her, okay, you're all right. But she helped me to open my mind to feelings.
It's okay to get help outside of the program for whatever you need.
Yes.
I believe in that.
That's why, I remember what my father taught me. He said, every woman is a potential mother. And Juan, you know how much of a knucklehead you are. Any one of them could have been your mom, so respect them all. I get sometimes the weirdest looks because, I'm so quiet. I don't know what it is that they see that I'm looking at. I'm just looking at another human being. Whatever my appearance to them is their own judgment.
Well, you have a peaceful, serene way about you that people look up to. That's what we want.
That's all I want.
Carry yourself with dignity.
Yeah.
And I appreciate everything you've done to serve the country and to help people in the program.
There's been so many people who have done much more. Yeah. We each give a contribution.
You inspire me, though.
It's just what I do.
I have people that inspire me, like Mother Teresa. There's famous people that inspire me, but I like people that are really, they put their heart out there for recovery's love.
Yes.
That's what it is.
That's
what I was told.
You know how many people I've had sleep throughout the past 29 years on my sofa? Yeah.
To help them.
Yeah. I was in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. I had just bought my first 3-family house again after, when I came in recovery. And this guy came in, couldn't read. So I introduced him to another recovering addict there. Now, the guy that I hooked him up with was a graduate from Jamestown University as a lawyer, but he was an alcoholic. And he couldn't stop drinking. He was an addict. And I put him together with this guy that didn't know how to read, and it got him to stay sober.
That's awesome.
I've seen miracles happen with people.
You're a miracle. And I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you.
You might have to come on another time because I could talk to you for hours. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. And I wish all of your viewers, health and happiness and serenity.
Thanks, Juan.
You're welcome.